So hi, welcome. I'm Lisa McCarthy, and I'm the head of school at Maple Village and one of the founders of the school, and super happy to be here. And we're in our 17th year, so it's exciting to watch this journey unfold and the school grow and people start to get to know us. Hi. As we slowly get the word out to the community about what we can offer. And so it's great to see some new faces and some faces I've seen before. And thank you so much. How exciting to see some of our students up here that have graduated and moved on. And thank you so much to parents for coming to speak about your experience, and to our teachers for staying late tonight to talk about their passion for Waldorf education and what it can hold for your students. And really for your family, and really for you, because it's not just for the kids. I think we can all agree it's an amazing community to become a part of. And so I found Waldorf education in the 90s when I wasn't looking for it. I already had a plan of what I was going to do with my life. It's a longer story I won't go into tonight, but if you get to know us, I'll be happy to share it with you. But I really had a different direction in life. And then when I discovered Waldorf education, I literally walked onto a campus where they invited me to discover what was there. And even though I was like, yeah, I'm okay, but I have my other plans to be a professor and do what I'm going to do. And I literally never left that campus. Paola knows because she was there. And I was so shocked at what education could look like. I didn't know it existed like that, where children could be so happy getting to class, and there was art and music and poetry and math facts being stomped up and down. And I just thought, why has this been a secret from me, you know? And so I didn't leave. Here we are, much later. I won't tell you, well, I already told the 90s, so I guess I ratted myself right out. Tonight isn't so much about Maple Village particularly, even though I love to talk about Maple Village particularly. It's about Waldorf education, because a lot of people, it's a very big decision to know, what do I want for my child? What's the right match for my child? And Waldorf education is quite unique. So this is a night to give you this amazing opportunity to hear from people in our community who discovered Waldorf and had their kiddos go through it or decided on that for their profession, to talk about what makes Waldorf education unique, and to then you be able to ask your questions about you might have heard or read or wonder to people who can totally answer you, that aren't me. So I think we'll just get started, and I'll have our panel go through and just introduce yourself, and just a little bit about, we'll have different rounds of questions and different ways of including you in the tonight, but maybe just, a little bit about you, why you chose Waldorf education if you're a teacher, and as a parent, just a little bit about, a high level of your experience and how it's maybe affected you. And for our graduates, you're going to get all the questions tonight, and a graduate who isn't one of our graduates, I'm guessing, a lot about how was it for you. And then if you have a unique experience where you came a little bit later, you weren't here from kindergarten up, you came later, how did that feel? Did you have a good transition? Were you welcomed? And then when you're off to high school, kind of where you are now, were you prepared? What were those pieces where you're like, oh, I'm so glad that I had this under my belt, and maybe anything that you're like, gosh, I really miss this. So you all have your own stories, so I'll just start. Do you want me to, you have yours? Okay, you have mics. So
oh my gosh, I'm on the spot. Hi, my name is Melanie McCabe, and I'm a preschool teacher. I have been teaching for about 8 years now, and I love it. And why Waldorf?
Like 5 minutes.
It's because of the joy and love that teachers have for these children is what draws me to it. And I just felt that what we have to offer as teachers, that we have that first ingredient, love and joy. That's it. That sets the whole environment for the children. You know, whatever the curriculum, whatever else comes after that, if you have that first ingredient, the foundation of love in teachers, that's it. Then I found that 28 years ago, that's when I first came to this country, and I happened to work with Lisa as her assistant, and it felt like home, and it reminded me of my childhood, because I grew up in the island in Tonga in the South Pacific, and I go, wow, this is great. This is just remind me of how I grew up. Everything, you know, and the joy and love of nature and human beings, that's the connection that we have in the islands. That's what's important, is your connection with human beings, nothing else. And to see the joy that teachers bring into the classroom, I was just like, this is it. This is where I belong. And then I left, and then I came back again, and here I am. Sharing love and joy with early childhood and all the teachers. I think we're so lucky to have you and your children, that we have to help nurture them for the future of the world, the whole world.
Thank you, Ms. Mele. Hi, I am Bobby Gonzalez. I am the current 6th grade teacher. I have been an educator in Waldorf for about, I'll age myself, nearing 20 years. I chanced upon Waldorf education when my own child had to start school, and I loved having her at home so much, and I thought, why would I want to send my child away from the home? This is the most loving place that she'll ever be in. And when I found a Waldorf school, it felt so warm, and it felt like home. And I saw my child forming those connections with someone outside the home, and I wanted to make sure that that was nurtured. So after about 2 or 3 years of being a parent, I decided, maybe you leave the business world and you come and see what it might be like to educate children. And I really feel like I found my calling, kind of just bringing out the best in each child, taking hold of that intellectual curiosity, that love of learning, and to be able to learn myself every single day, bring that to them and see the excitement growing in each of them. And I'm happy to report I have a group of 6th graders who still really enjoy coming to school, and who I can see that curiosity coming to school every single day. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'll stay here.
Hi, I'm Candace Dickens-Russell. I apologize for my voice. I'm getting over a cold, but I would not miss being here tonight. I am a parent and mother of Eden, who is a 7th grader. Eden is, oh my gosh, a ball of joy. And everybody who knows Eden knows that. She's got all that bouncy curly hair. So if you know her, that's the one, the tall one with all the curls. We have been here since Eden was in parent taught at 18 months old. And I found Waldorf education through my mentor. I'm an ecologist. I work in the environmental education sector. And my darling, beloved mentor, Waldorf homeschooled her children. And that's how I found Waldorf. And I was like, I want all of what she has. I want all of it. So I found this school, and I got on the mailing list when Eden was 6 months old, because I was not messing around, and that's my personality. And I have been here ever since. I am the founder and chair of the equity committee. I'll give you the shortened version of it. I also have helped with school with our equity strategic planning. And I just really love Waldorf. We have a Waldorf home. We've raised Eden in a Waldorf environment, and we're super excited about it. So happy to be here.
Good evening. My name is Tori Carrick. My husband and I have 2 children. They are in 6th grade and in 4th grade. We came to Waldorf a little bit later. We were at our local public school, one of the best in Long Beach, people say. And 2nd grade was kind of the breaking point for our older son. Neurodiverse boy, and the curriculum just wasn't meeting him where he was. And when bringing it up to his teacher and the administration, the comment was, there's just too many kids. We can't slow down to help your son. He either gets it or we have to move on. And as a result, he just really started to hate school. I mean, everything felt like a pain. He cried at homework. He didn't want to go to school in the morning. And we thought, gosh, he's in second grade. If he already hates learning, what's the future going to look like for him? And we got really fortunate to find Waldorf Education. And when I look back on it now, the thing that I see with both of our boys, our younger son is not neurodiverse. He accelerates in any kind of environment that he's in. But what I really have enjoyed about Waldorf Education is the curriculum meets the kids where they are, and it fully embraces them and kind of infiltrates them in so many different ways that they're open to, instead of just being forced upon them. So I'm just happy to say that our kids love coming to school. It's not difficult to get them out of the house, and it just has made parenting a lot easier, to be completely honest.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wackerman, and I have two sons, twins, actually identical twins, who attended Waldorf, but now they're in high school, so I'm an alum parent, I guess. Is that what I'm called? But I really wanted to come tonight because it took me a little longer to find the Waldorf route. My boys did not get to start here until 7th grade, so I guess one of the main reasons I wanted to come was to tell you all that I wish they had started sooner. The 2 years that they got to be here were the best 2 years of their school lives. I knew that public school wasn't right for my kids for many reasons that I won't go into, but it just took me a little bit to find Waldorf. I had heard about it, but I don't think I fully really understood it until I came and watched my children change from these two wonderful children that I knew that just weren't being understood by their school or even their peers, and they came here and just blossomed to the point where they were leaving here, public speaking, they were so timid and shy and scared when they got here. Miss Paula at the end was their teacher, their wonderful teacher, so she knows their story best. But they just, I couldn't believe the children that they were when they started here versus, it was like everything that I knew about them at home got to come out in the public setting. And they know themselves so well today, to the point where, all of the whole 8th grade class, I was like so impressed with all these kids. Like last year when they graduated, they all knew where they wanted to go, what they wanted to do for high school. And it was very impressive to me how when you do go to the child, where you meet the child where they're at, which is honestly what the school does, how much your child can come, just be themselves and learn that it's okay to be themselves and take that wherever they go. So I just loved the journey here, and I love what they gained from it, and just watching how they're using that in their high school life now. It's just an experience that I wish everyone could have for their kids. So that's it. Thank you.
My name is Paul Kaywood. I am one of those people who my parents were concerned about when I was younger, and they decided to put me in a Waldorf school. My parents put me into the Sacramento Waldorf School in 1983, and I was there from 1983. I finally graduated from Sacramento Waldorf School in 1993, the story my mother tells me is that my 2nd grade teacher at the local public school said I didn't fit in, and that I needed a smaller setting, and that, they were concerned about me, so they put me in. They knew some friends who had their children in the Sacramento Waldorf School, and then I ended up going there. The thing I remember most about Waldorf was that it really, they let me do things on my own timeline. They gave me guardrails and everything, but just a little bit of a story. actually wasn't that great of a student at Waldorf. I did really well in music and art and PE and everything that didn't require academics. And I had to redo a lot of those main lesson books. But I actually just barely graduated school. And it just wasn't, I wasn't ready to, to be the best student. But after pledging along in college for a while, I finally got myself going and, going to community college and then transferring to a state. And I happened to run into one of my former Waldorf teachers, one of my history teachers, Mr. Jim Staley. And I ran into him at a local supermarket up in Sacramento. And he said, "Paul, hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing great." I said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm actually majoring in history right now at San Francisco State University." And he's like, "Wow, you're majoring in history?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm majoring in history. I'm hoping I'm becoming a teacher someday." And I said, "Mr. Staley, I'm just curious. I'm not upset or anything, but why didn't you push me harder?" Like when I was at Waldorf. And he's like, "Well, you landed on your feet, didn't you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I did." And he's like, "Well, our philosophy at Waldorf was everybody has their own timeline. And you for whatever reason at that point in your life, you weren't ready to do the things that we were asking you to, but we knew you would eventually achieve those things. We just, we let you be yourself." And I just, it really resonated with me because that, on top of the fact that I never felt like any of my teachers or any of my administrators at Waldorf or any of the other students at the school ever judged me. Nobody judged me. They really helped me, put me in touch with my feelings. I look back and, I really value it. When I was in third grade, they had us start with stringed instruments. And so I tried all the different instruments along with everybody in my class. The high school classes at the Sacramento Waldorf School are about 30 kids. So that's probably pretty big compared to this one, yeah. So we had 30 kids in my grade school class going up through 8th grade, and then in high school with 30 kids in our class about every year. And they had us play every, musical instrument, and I picked the cello, and I still play it today. I'm in the community orchestra at LBCC. So every Thursday night I go there, and I still play the cello. There's about 13 cellos there, and I still play the cello because of what I learned when I was at Waldorf. There's more, so it's a lot. Now I'm actually a parent of one of the, my daughter is here, Micaela De La Torre. She's in the lavender class with Miss Hesa. We brought her here last year. She's one of two twins we have. My son, he's neurodivergent. He's currently at a Long Beach school, but we're hoping to have him here eventually. And I know my daughter would probably be able to make any school work. It's right now, my wife Margaret and are feeling that we need to have our son here because he would get a lot out of it because he's very different. So hopefully next year, I don't know. We're working on it. We got to work on the potty training and all that. But other than that, Waldorf is a terrific system, and I'm glad that I was a part of Waldorf when I grew up, and I'm looking forward to having my kids here as they grow older. So.
Hi, I went here as a student back in, let's see, it must have been 2015, 2016, and yeah. And I came from a public school. I didn't start at Waldorf. I wish I had. It would have been amazing. And I kind of felt not alone, but kind of on the outs, just because with the class that I was in, they had all been here since kindergarten, maybe even the parent-toddler class. So they had kind of all formed like this family, and then I had just come there, and it definitely took a while to integrate, but Waldorf is truly at the core of who I am, and it's helped form to who I am and who I've become.
Hi, my name is Bobby Rose Gonzalez, and I attended the Pasadena Waldorf School from kindergarten to 8th grade. I really loved being a Waldorf student. I'm also neurodivergent, but similarly to how you said you never felt judged by the staff and administration, I didn't even realize that I was neurodivergent until I was in my 20s, because I never felt strange or weird or out of place like I know that many neurodivergent people do, and have experiences like that. I loved being a Waldorf student. I feel like in very little ways, it teaches the students to be polite people, in ways as simple as just shaking hands with your teacher every morning and addressing them in a polite way. Just like little things like that I have noticed, with my other friends from Waldorf schools versus my friends who didn't go to Waldorf schools. Like when we were in high school, the way that we interacted with adults was very different, and the way that we were perceived by adults was very different. So I'm really appreciative of that. I did not attend a Waldorf high school because at the time, the Pasadena Waldorf School was very, very new, and I didn't think it was very well established. So I did go to a different school, and it was a major culture shock. The grading system was completely different. The way anything was run was completely different. It was a Catholic school, so the values were very different, but I honestly had no trouble integrating with my class, doing well in my classes. I never felt like I was drowning in my schoolwork or anything like that. I made friends easily with kids in all different grades. And I think that Waldorf really helped me to be an adaptable person. And so I'm really happy that I went to a Waldorf school for that reason.
Hi. Whoa. Sorry. Hi, my name is Joaquin Palafox, and I am in freshman year of high school now, but I was in Waldorf since I was 2.5, right? 2.5 years old. So I personally loved it. It was a great time. It was, Miss Pala remembers. She was my teacher since 1st grade, and oh man, those were the years, huh? Waldorf really helped me be okay with who I am. I now do not care. It's really hard for me to care what people think about me. I like that about Waldorf. It really helped me be okay with who I was, and really taught me how to just be myself. Now in high school, I'm not socially awkward. I'm awkwardly social. I've got friends in every single grade. I've got freshman friends, senior friends. Whoa. Freshman friends, sophomore friends, junior friends, sophomore friends. I said that already. Senior friends. And Waldorf really played a big part in me being able to do that. Because I got to know everybody in this school. Everyone here was really friendly, especially the teachers. But everyone here is just really, really friendly. Some really nice people here.
My name is Adela Rani, and I've been in Waldorf since I was 1.5. I started with Miss Lisa's parent-taught program, and I was with my mom, and it was great. And I went all the way to 8th grade with Miss Paula and Joaquin, and yeah, those were best years by far. I'm in high school right now. I'm a freshman, and I go to Wilson. It's culture shock for sure. Yeah, so Waldorf is more everyone in your, since you go from grade 1 to grade 8 with your same teacher and same classmates, you really become more of a family rather than a class, because there's definitely a difference. So you become more of a family, and I feel like once you go into high school, there's different people, and you have different classes with different people. So there's no really real opportunity to become like really close friends unless you already have friends that went to the same high school as you. So I feel that Waldorf just really allows you to make closer friends than you would in a public school or a different setting. And as far as academics go, I feel completely prepared. There's nothing that I can't do in academics so far. You know, I'm only in the first semester, so fingers crossed. Good beginning, yes, very good. Yeah, so I feel that most people, I don't know, before I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to survive, or like, it's gonna be so much homework, there's gonna be way too many tests, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. But once I like entered the, arena of high school, I felt that I was more prepared than I thought. Like all the knowledge kind of got stored in a different place, and I feel like the door opened, and all the knowledge that I had stored up since first grade and even before in kindergarten, and even before that, well, I can't really remember, but I don't know. But just since like kindergarten, all the knowledge that I've like kept in that little secret box got opened and released, and it just all got integrated into what I, do now, and I have good grades, My mom knows that. I try my best, and there's really honestly all of the things that like public high school so far has like given me, it's really easy. Some of the stuff I've even already done in like 5th grade. It's pretty crazy. Like we're learning about biomes in biology, and my sister is learning about that just now. She's in 5th grade. And I'm like, we're doing the exact same thing. You're learning about biomes and you're presenting it to the class. I'm learning about biomes and I'm presenting it to class all over again. So, I know more than I thought, and I'm really glad about that. And I think that's what Waldorf really does. It just like powers you up with knowledge, Yeah, so, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Adela. Well, my name is Paula Schouten. Thank you very much. I've done this since 1984. This is when I got my first accidental class. I realized I've never applied for a job. I've always been asked to come along with people's endeavors. So I've started at the Pasadena Waldorf School and then went to Orange County, started a charter school, journey school in between, and just started mentoring at Ocean Charter and have mentored taught in the Netherlands, taught here, carried a couple of classes through 3 and then finished a lot too. I came to this because my brother had it, and he was younger than I, and there was no class for me. It starts at some point, and then there is either a class or there's not. So there was no class for me. For my brother, there was. He was 1st grade, but I was already in 4th grade. So I just saw the periphery of it. I would go to festivals, I would do this, I would do that. And I always knew I wanted to work with kids because I think kids are the future. They are, and they are so they are just great beings, yeah? Still becoming human, but they are great beings. And I've always wanted to, not being a parent myself, I've always had kids in my life, somewhere around. Somewhere around, I've always had kids in my life, and I love them. I try to see them. I try to see them where they are. I try to see them where they want to go and help them get there. We're all talented. We all have our niches. And for me, I really see my job as a teacher to get that out of them, or at least expose them so that you can pick yourself and you can ultimately decide what you want to do. So when you come in the little classes, in the young classes, you're actually already looking at 8th grade as a parent. You would not be just looking, because it all looks very cute in the earlier grades, right? I mean, I've heard you say that a lot too. It was all cutesy and all fun and all, it looks, reverent and all this. And then, as you go through the years, it becomes more steady. It becomes more really quality over quantity. Put out something that is, meaningful, that you can feel proud of, that you don't feel you need to toddle up and throw in the, in the trash. Something that you keep with you. And I think that in a Waldorf school, kids get the opportunity. And they get the opportunity to be who they are and where they're at. And a little kick in the bum where it's needed, a little arm around the shoulder where it's needed, a little talking to when it is needed. But at the end of the day, it's about compassion, love, feeling good about yourself. Know that you will be able to find it anywhere if you want it. You'll figure it out. I'm giving you the tools. I'm not giving you all the knowledge. No, plus. You want knowledge? Yeah. I'd rather give wisdom in that sense. Make it your own, do something new, become, a little more engaged with what's going on. So those are the goals of this school, with what we're trying to do here, on what we want, what is the image that we have of the kids that are before us. And to go on that path, what a gift. Yeah, there are going to be hard times. Yeah, they're going to be good times. And they're going to be so-so times where everything is in balance. But trust me, whenever everything's in balance, there's going to be a disruptor. It happens. And that's what you also prepare them for. You can handle it. You don't have to resort to anything, in order for you to be you and, grow out of yourself. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, panel. I love that there's a variety of stories and a variety of how you landed and where you are now. And I think just to tag on to that, what Paula was saying is for us to say we still love coming to work every day after all these years, there's a reason for that. And it changes subtly over the years because the demographic and the ways of the world change, and the children coming to us change, and what they're exposed to and what they need. And I think what I'm hearing so much of is that concept of, we see you. We see the children, and we want to, our job is to remove their obstacles, because everyone has them. And if you can remove those, they can become who they're supposed to be, not judged by who else is in the class or hitting the mark how everybody else is going to hit it, because children coming to us, they're auditory learners, there are visual learners, there are kinesthetic learners. Everyone's brain works a little bit differently, and so the teacher's job is fantastic to be able to get to know this student and how do they best learn. And so in the grades, to have your teacher move with you, really, really knowing your student, they can hit the ground running in September rather than, kind of in November, December, they go, oh, that's why you're struggling. Okay, maybe I need to rethink this, and now it's March, So that's one of the beautiful things. And I think the other thing that I'm hearing, this kind of friendly, this love, this warmth, it's not a pitch. I think that's why we like to come here. That's why the students don't want to leave. I think Adela and Joaquin can attest that in the last day of school last year, they didn't leave the room. They literally wouldn't leave. And it's like, you have to go. But once we leave this room, it'll be over. It'll be done.
I can help you one. We had a graduation party, and I thought, probably, till about from, 4:30 till 7:30 or something. That we figured was enough. Oh well, we went till 9:30, and nobody left because there were so many stories and so many things over all these years, but it's healthy.
Yeah.
It's healthy. And it was healthy. It's also healthy to move on to your new thing. Yeah? With enthusiasm. Please go. You're going to have a good time. It's going to be good. Yeah, you're going to love it.
And I mean, part of this is what they now, there's all these new studies coming out saying relationship-based learning is the best way to go, because if you care about your teacher and you have a relationship with your teacher, you're going to want to learn. And if you're disconnected from your teacher, you have less impulse to do so. And we're like, whoa, well, for 100 years we've been doing that. So I just wanted to touch on that. And that feeling of caring, I think, is why we see our students come in so happy. And our colleagues, we love being here, and the students feed off of that because they know they're held. I want to pause and just see if anything that happened so far brings up a question for you, if you brought a question, so that we can have people speak to your questions. Yes?
You're speaking about the teachers going with the grades, which I think is beautiful. And I think this is more of a teacher question than a student question. Obviously, there's personalities, like I'm remembering my experience, and there's teachers that I clicked with really well, and others that, and I think that's just a human thing as well. How do you tackle that, knowing that you obviously see them from really young all the way up? The fact that there's some people that you, that's my question.
Oh, I love this question. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Bobby and Paula, and you can both answer. Mm-hmm.
I think it's really knowing the children in front of you. And as a teacher, I cannot treat my children the same way I spoke to them when they were in first grade. It's really having this ability to see them, see the change in them. And that means I also have to look inwardly, and I have to be able to change myself and my approach to really meet where they are and who they are. I will say in the past 20 plus years, I've yet to have an issue because that's also something we teach. We have respect for one another, and we can communicate. So when I get them in 6th grade and I see an eye roll, I expect more of you because I know that you can clearly articulate something that's bothering you. And I will say, I am at fault, and they know this about me. I make mistakes, and sometimes I saw something, and maybe it was unfair, and I can apologize for that. I can give them that respect that I want them to show me. So I think it really boils down to be able to grow with the students and the families as well. So to date, knock on wood, it hasn't been an issue.
Everything she said. Everything she said.
I think also, at least what I can expect is you definitely have an ability to fall in love with everybody, with every single one of your students. And by falling in love with them, once you feel love, you obviously reciprocate it. But
well, I have a little story for you. I mean, when I was a young child, I always felt that my mother loved my brother more than me. Period. I was convinced of it, and I was going to run away, and I was going to do all kinds of things because she loved him more than me. And I kept that with me for a very long time. And then as I matured, all of a sudden, ding, light went off. It wasn't that she loved him more than me. His character was easier for her to deal with. We have all these temperaments that we deal with, right? We have the phlegmatic, the melancholic, the sanguine, the choleric, who wants it. Everybody has their own temperaments. And so, yeah, that may be a challenge, right? To have a phlegmatic, somebody who sits at the table and just can't get their food down fast enough to your opinion. Those are things, and of course it rubs at times, but we grow. We grow from rubbing. Yes. Yes.
I just wanted to go off what my mom said about, respect. Something that I did notice once I left Waldorf. So while I was in Waldorf, obviously you're not always going to agree with your friends. You're going to have different opinions on things. That's just normal. But it wasn't until I went to my high school how much I appreciated everyone from Waldorf, because I was, and I'm being generous here, maybe one of 5 students in my entire high school who did not share the same religious and political beliefs as the rest of the school. And I don't agree with them, but I'm not gonna try and force my beliefs on them. That's what you believe, that's fine, I respect that. And that's how it was when I was in Waldorf. We have different beliefs, that's fine, I disagree, but I'm not gonna try and convince you otherwise if that's your truth. I have never had so many people when I went to high school, you're wrong, that's not true. No, this is what's right. And I'm trying to tell them, hey, I respect that you believe that. That's totally fine. I am okay with that. I still want to be your friend. I still want to talk to you. But I would just really appreciate if you would respect my beliefs in return and not try to push them on me.
Yeah, I think, thank you. Bravo. Yeah, I think a lot of this goes back to how we work with children, even in the early childhood, all the way up with conflict management. So that question comes up a lot. In the early childhood, of course, we're not going to intellectualize with them, but we're also not a place this thing about moving with your teacher. That's a question that comes up. What if my child doesn't like the teacher? What if I have a trouble? What if the teacher doesn't like my child? But that's not how it is, because we have to work through everything, and we teach the children the same thing. If you're going to go through the years, it's not going to work if you're going to send one to one corner and one to another until they cool off. I mean, sure. And then we're going to have a talking rock. We're going to go back and forth, and they're going to say, this is what happened. This is how I feel. No. The other one's waiting, and they have to wait, and yeah, this is what I heard you say, and this is where, So we teach them how to move through conflict, move through disagreement, rather than just kind of I don't have time for it, you just don't play with each other,
And you honestly do not need to tell me what he or she did. Just tell me what you did. And then she or he will tell me what they did. That always gets what? I remember you what? What is that all about? What do you mean I did it? And then you talk backwards, right? They talk their way, and then, oh, that's where it was. And all of a sudden, so if you had asked him, if you could stand behind him and not pushed her to the side, this would have never happened? Is that what you're saying? Okay. And it just, resolves.
Also,
Respect. Sorry.
yeah, no, I'll also just say, just to be transparent, the ideal and the model is for a teacher to move from 1st through 8th, but it doesn't always happen. Life happens. People have to move. Their life changes. And so sometimes there is a change of teacher. And we also do ask a teacher when they are in 5th grade, is this what you want to move to middle school? When we interview teachers, we ask them, do you see yourself going 1 through 8th? Do you see yourself going 1 through 5? Because some teachers, their jam is middle school, and they're a little bit more worried about the early years. Some people really love the early years, and they're a little bit I don't know about middle until I get here. And so we want to make sure we're not pushing a teacher too hard in a realm that they're not going to thrive in. So I just want to make that clear too, that it's not always that. Yeah.
I should also say that you have your children will have a lot of teachers. You have your main teacher, but you also have a strings teacher and a woodworking teacher and a Spanish teacher and a Japanese teacher and a chorus teacher, and you have all of these teachers. And I remember Eden, when she was getting ready to go to 6th grade to middle school, and all of the Girl Scouts in our Girl Scout troop were going to middle school, they're going to get to go to different classes with different teachers. And I was like, honey, you've been doing that since 1st grade. And you have to, it's not just one teacher. There are lots of teachers in your child's life every day.
Thank you so much for that super important point.
I actually was in a class where I had a teacher from 1st through 5th and then a different teacher 6th through 8th. And as 5th graders, we'd been with this teacher for 5 years and we were like, no, like we don't want a new teacher, blah, blah, blah. But once we got to 6th grade, it was a much better fit for our class. And we loved our new teacher. She was great. She was everything that we needed for those grades. We didn't look back and be like, oh, like, well, that other teacher was terrible. Like, no, we had fun from 1st through 5th grade with that teacher. She met our needs during that time, and when she could no longer meet those needs, she passed us on to someone more capable, and it worked out really well.
Thank you. Yeah, did you have a question?
Yeah, when a teacher reaches 8th grade and has a graduating class, do they restart with 1st grade? Or?
What a nice question to ask this particular panel. So when a teacher hits 8th, they have a choice. I mean, we evaluate how it's gone, and is there a desire to go back to 1st? And so we actually have someone on the panel who just did that, Paula.
Ideally, there would be a sabbatical.
Ideally.
Just
Ideally,
so
there
you
would
know,
be.
okay? A sabbatical would be lovely. Because it is a big jump. And I know I'm on occasion over their heads, but they also kind of like it. And I kind of like it too. It's a cute group. Yeah. It's a cute group.
Yeah. So Paula did say, first, she's like, I don't know. And then she's like, I think I want to go down to 1st.
Yeah. I wanted to do a 1st, just to start it, to help sculpt it, and to, Steiner says it's all about the good habits in those grades, where they learn what to do, how to do it, how to use, the materials, how to take care of things, how to clean up, how to make sure your work is finished, how to make sure that you keep it clean, how to make sure you keep your crayons divided. They help sweep. They have a chores list. And it's a good thing. Chores are good for kiddos. Trust me. In whatever shape. Yeah, I know. It takes a little longer for you, to help them and explain and how it works and da-da-da-da. But trust me, you're going to benefit from it ultimately. Yes, you will benefit from it. They'll help you out.
Yes, question?
Follow up on that. So I'm guessing you had that conversation at the end when they graduated with a certain amount of time. If you choose to take a sabbatical, do you have teachers that you already know you would consider? Do you go searching for them? Do you do interviews? It feels like also there's a Waldorf community that people come to different schools. How does that?
Yeah, the
what's
process.
happened? Yeah.
The 1st grade teacher process is pretty sweet. So the first thing we do, of course, there will be children coming to us in 1st grade who are not currently here. So they're at kindergartens elsewhere. We also have parents and kiddos here who are going to rise up. And so one thing we do is in spring, because we're very intentional people, we think a lot about everything, the why and the how and how to make it best. And so we have something in spring where we form a circle and we do intentions. And so every family that has a rising 1st grader is able to share on a card, like, what are 3 or 4 characteristics of your child? And then on the backside, what are 3 or 4 qualities you're seeking for in your child's 1st grade teacher? And then we go around and we kind of share, and we see the makeup of the class just by the adjectives shared by all the children. And then we say, oh gosh, a whole class of squirrely ones, you know, or, and then the intentions go, you know, it's usually a form of Mary Poppins, you know, like all the things. But we really, the teacher search committee, the teacher hiring committee is there, listening and really hearing who needs, it's not just a random person, like who is for this class? What qualities are going to be needed for this class? And of course we advertise in, you know, different ways in Waldorf Today and Waldorf education sites, but also word of mouth is, yeah, pretty good in these parts and people looking. And then we have a whole process of a teacher applying and then doing the interviews and then also coming to demonstration lessons. So we have them come and do a lesson in the second or first grade and then do a lesson in like a fifth or sixth grade. And the teacher hiring committee is watching their lessons and then being able to talk to them afterwards, like, what did you think went well? What did you wish you did? You know, the whole process. And they even go into the kindergarten and they do a story and we see how they bond with these kids. It's very, pretty intense process. And then we kind of, you know, come to that conclusion of who we'd like to bring to that first grade class. So, does that answer your question?
Yes. I love the intention part.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something really quick about just the compassion and the empathy, like hearing Paula talk about the younger years, because my sons, Cash and Miles, like we've always obviously taught that in our family, but they had a really hard time in their sixth grade class. They were being bullied, which is why we initially came here. And when we had this first outing where Miss Paula had suggested, like, the kids are new, all the other kids have been together, which you were speaking to as well, like how it was hard for them to integrate at seventh grade at first. So she said, have something maybe at your house where all the kids can come over. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have all these like middle school kids at my house, like, oh my gosh, because I had been in a different middle school, right? So I was like, okay. So I did it. I was like, okay, everyone come over, all the families, and I could not believe it. The boys were like, do you want Miss Wackerman? Do you want help with the pizza? Can we make pizza for you? The girls were like, can we clean the kitchen? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the best like group of kids I've ever seen in my life. And we really are, like, all of us, the Willows, we are called our community. Some of our kids still go to high school together. So we're like, I'm like, they know, gung-ho on not letting this group fall apart. So I'm like, we still have things at our house. It is like a true community where I just, on the camping trips, just how everyone helps each other. It really is the most amazing community. And I think what they learn here, they do take to all their high schools and wherever they go in life. And it's just, when they say like they really teach to the whole child, it is like something I've never seen. So when my kids first came here, I was like, oh my gosh, I have Waldorf kids, and I didn't know I had Waldorf kids, you know, until I got them around a bunch of other kids where it was just like they fit in with the style of it. And it's cool for me to hear, as somebody who wasn't here in first grade, how it all happened, right? Because it is true for all the kids, and I'm just very grateful that we got to be a part of this community. So just
Thank you, Kelly. And Paula still has the cards from first grade, from when we did the envisioning.
Yeah, she did at their graduation. Just last thing is that she did poems for all the kids because she's known them all their whole lives. So she did a poem. She wrote a poem for each child at their graduation. And my kids had only been with her for 2 years. And the way she knew my children for just the 2 years that she was with them, I mean, we were all crying. It was like, we didn't want to leave. We were all there for like 4 hours or something. We just like, the people were trying to kick us out. I was in charge. Yeah, the parking guy was like, you guys weren't supposed to be here this long. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I'm not ending this. So what do we have to do? Like, yeah, it was kind of amazing. Okay.
Yeah, questions.
Brian was amazing.
That's true.
Community all helped.
Question, yes.
I have a question if someone could talk about screens. Help us.
Yeah, okay. The students are going to, the alumni.
I realized as they were talking, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Milo. But as coming from a public school where we had a computer lab, like people had phones, people would bring their tablet, like I grew up with electronics, and then coming here, there's a very specific story that I can absolutely tell. It was during aftercare, and we were in, I think it's the preschool room. It's either preschool or kindergarten, I don't remember. And at the time, I had a Kindle, and I was just like playing music for all the kids, and then one of the teachers, who I don't ever remember her name, but she came in and she was like, "You're not supposed to have that. You need to put that away." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I put it away. But it was like nobody had told me, and I wasn't aware of it. So it was interesting to learn. But I think it's better that like not having screens, because then you truly get that real world experience of just being in the moment and existing and just living.
Starting Waldorf in kindergarten, my mom did not let me watch TV or go on the computer or anything very often. I didn't get my first phone until I was in 8th grade. But I really think that's part of the reason why I am the way that I am. I didn't take my personality from characters that I saw on a screen. I read a lot of books. Last year alone, in 3 months, I read 14 books. So it really allows you to use your imagination and find entertainment in other ways and not seek that, constant stimulation, that instant gratification. It gives you better patience, because when you read a book, it's not always super fun and interesting on every single page. Like, it builds up, like fantasy books, there's world building, and you immerse yourself in that, and you have greater satisfaction when you get to the climax of the story. So yeah, it definitely helps with patience. You're not just always seeing one funny thing after another, scrolling over and over again. And I think that it helped me also be a more creative person and find my own style. And that's something that I take pride in. I don't like to conform to just one thing. And I think being a Waldorf student also helped that, because I was free to express myself the way that I wanted to.
So I was not allowed to watch any form of television until I was 9 years old. And I was, at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so weird. I don't get any screens until I'm 9 years old. That's so odd. And everyone else has screens. Well, not in my class, obviously. It's sort of the same in my class. But all the people I would see, 9-year-olds at restaurants, or even 2-year-olds at waiting in line for something. They always had a screen or a tablet or a phone, their mom's or something, even their own. And I was like, whoa, that's so weird that I don't have one of those. That's really odd. Why don't I have one of those? So as I grew, I was 10, and then I was 11 and 12. And I was allowed to watch movies then. And I didn't get a phone until I was in 8th grade as well. So yeah, but I feel over those years, I was forced is kind of not the right word, but I was encouraged very strongly to live without a phone. It's impossible, I know. So crazy. But yeah, but I was kind of forced to not use any screens, any form of social media, any stuff like that. And yeah, I was a bookaholic. I loved books so much. I read so many books. Yeah, it's crazy how many books I read. But so I feel I found the hunger for entertainment in books. So yeah, but I feel now when I'm in high school right now, so but now everyone around me has phones and screens constantly, and I feel I don't know, I just feel nowadays everyone is always entertained by something, and they feel the need to be entertained constantly and by something, yeah. And so, I don't know, I feel like I'm less brain rot than other teenagers. As my English teacher put it, I love my English teacher. He's so
You know,
funny.
I'll add a little bit because I think it's a great question, especially for a transitioning family, because we were in an environment which was very screen heavy. I mean, our family works in businesses, which is very much tied to technology, and technology has been a very strong part of our life, and we didn't come here till later. And it was certainly a transition. I'll tell you, for our family, we are screen-free Monday through Friday, and on the weekends, we as a family will enjoy media together. So I share that because I do know that a lot of folks think that Waldorf is like absolutely purist and you cannot watch any television or play with screens. But for our family, we found a way to integrate it healthy, but also it feels like it's really freed up our children's lives and creativity to have that space Monday through Friday. And I'll just tell a funny, interesting story because we're still very much tapped into non-Waldorf community. Our kids play sports. They're very athletic. Our older son's on a club soccer team. Most of these other kids go to mainstream schools. All of them have phones. And I can't tell you how often parents are complaining about the challenges that they've had with their children and the phones. But that's the experience that my husband and I have shared and discussed with other parents. But our kids, the other day, this happened this summer actually, it was such a neat story for us. We sent a message to a very close family of ours that lives on the, we live on one side of Cal State Long Beach, they're on the other side. The kids have to kind of ride through Cal State Long Beach. Our kids were going to 6th grade and 4th grade. Sent a message to our friend, hey, our boys want to play with your boys, can we send them over to your place? I've ridden them there before, and they know how to come back. I pointed out the landmarks. And she, well, they don't have a phone. Like, yeah, I know, we're gonna put a tracker in their backpack, just make sure everything's fine, and you can text me when they get there and make sure it's A-okay. Anyways, it was successful, they get there. She couldn't believe that we sent our kids, you know, as far as we did on their bikes by themselves. But then our kids got there, and these two good friends of theirs that they'd grown up with were just like playing video games the entire time. And our boys were just so incredibly bored, and they wanted to play and like ride skateboards and just do things. And the kids didn't want to, and so our boys ended up coming home. Like it just wasn't even engaging for them anymore. And I think that the interesting thing about that whole story is the mom, who's a very close friend of ours, just couldn't believe that we like sent our kids into the world by themselves to ride all the way over there. And that when they got there, our kids didn't even want to be there because all they were doing is just playing video games, so they came home anyways. So I feel like the screen thing is it's not so hardcore for every family, but also I think by embracing some of the philosophy and really getting behind it, you understand this really beautiful component of your children that maybe you didn't know was there.
Yeah, and I grew up on a mountain and I had no screens my entire life. When I went to college 20 years ago, I was one out of 500 people in my classroom who did not have 17 screens. I went up to 17 where people were still raising their hands. This is 20 years ago. So I'm at a crossroads where I'm like, what are those children going to do? You know, we dug our fingers in the dirt. My mom still had to call me in college, dig your fingers in the dirt, child. Like, come on. You know, so I just worry about them. It's really nice to hear what you guys are saying because it scares me.
I'd like to actually add one more thing on that based off of what you said and something that Adela said as well. It forces you to form human connections, talk to people rather than just be in the same space but not talking to each other or doing anything. Like I've had times where friends have asked to come over and then they're on their phone the entire time and I'm like, why did you want to come over? Like I thought we were gonna hang out, I thought we were gonna do something. Or even like you said, like on the weekends you guys consume media together. It's like you're doing that as a family, you're not ignoring each other to go do something else and pay attention to a screen. It's also a way to form human connection, like spending time with your family. So.
I'm going to add one thing, just hopefully some peace of mind. So none of my children were allowed to be on the computer or have screen time. So I had a lot of concern from family members that my children would be behind when it came time to use the computer. And that was a major concern. I want to say that it's almost innate in them. It was something that there was zero struggle with the transition. The only thing that was a little odd was when Angelica, my current 12th grader, wrote her very first email. She put the whole email in the subject line. It happened one time, and then they learn from that. So I will say they are coding, programming, able to make these amazing slideshows, things I can't do on the computer, and it was a very smooth, easy transition, so there's no worry about them falling behind.
Yeah, thank you, and it's such a good topic. The other thing is, what we do here is we do have Chromebooks in 8th grade, and the 7th graders also get introduced to them, but before all that happens, they have a class called Cyber Civics, which is really about, before you get all of this is how to play on the digital playground. This is what really happens. Things don't go away just because you delete them, and here's how you communicate, and here's how it is all going to be, how to be on a computer before they are just given, the computer, which I think is a really helpful thing, because a lot of it's about social, right? We know how much mental health is affected in our teens today by social media and what they perceive they are being liked or not liked. They learn about cyberbullying. What does that look like? So we help you as parents with that. Anne.
I would also add, and if the kids are having a chat, us parents are pretty close, and something appears in the chat, we know what's going on. And it's really easy to have that conversation with another parent because we are close and we know each other's kids and we are looking out for each other as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yes?
How would you handle, or how do you handle, non-Waldorf cousins that are able to have phones while our children are not? And for example, my son Ryder, he's at his grandma's a lot, and my nephew is 5 years old and he gets his own phone because that's how, unfortunately, what he's allowed to do. So my son is confused because he doesn't get to use his phone or any phone or watch TV, and yet his cousin does. So do you guys have any suggestions?
We have cousins. My brother has 3 kiddos, and they all got phones at a very young age, and Eden was quite bitter about that. But I had to ask her, we would go over to Nini's house, to my mom's house. We're all going to Nini's, and your cousins are going to be on their phones. What's your plan? This is going to happen. Let's expect this. We're not going to buy you a phone because your cousins have a phone. Yes, Nini offers to buy you a phone every week. But we're not going to do that because your cousins have phones. What's your plan? And so she one time said, I'm going to bring my marble run. Guess what they did for the whole time? Marble run. So it's just, what's your plan? Expect this. We're going to go to a restaurant, and there's going to be some parent at the next table with the 2-year-old with the screen. What's your plan? What are you going to do while other people are doing this other thing? That's how we handled it.
I just have a quick thing about that, because my boys they don't understand the phones. They kind of wish that they grew up in a generation that doesn't have phones. It's so funny but anyway, one of the things that they do is one of my sons, for his high school party, his first party, he's like, I'm gonna have a party, but if people want to be on their phones, they need to be in a separate area. So he wants to have a separate area where I'm like, people used to do that with smoking. You had to sit in a separate area. So now he's like, if they don't want to connect with the people that are actually here, they have to be off to the side. I'm like,
I love
that's
that.
Miles. Yeah. Miles. No, Miles. Yeah, Miles. Miles. He likes it. It's interesting. He doesn't. So what the thing I want to point out to you is that they have cousins too, and the first time their cousin got a phone, and he came over, and he got a phone pretty young, but they did the same thing. They were like, why did he come over here? All he did was he was on his phone the whole time. So they started just not wanting to be around their cousin. So I found that, which is another thing, but the fact is that I don't feel like, at least for my children, they wanted what the other kids have. They started to value personal interactions and realized that they felt like the other kids were missing out on something by having that, and they looked at it as a disadvantage instead of something they couldn't have. That's how my kids looked at it, but I don't know if all kids will be like that, but that's what I found. So.
Yeah, I have a lot of cousins, a lot, and they had phones, they were allowed to watch TV, but I was so into my books that I didn't care. They'd come over and I'm like, okay, but like this part of my book is really good, so I want to keep reading. So I think if you have your own interests and things that you really love, you don't covet what other people have.
Tanya?
And I can speak to that. My daughter didn't start any media as well until she was 9. And for us, it was more also educating the adults that we engaged with and letting them know we don't really do screens. And so when they did get together, those parents respected that. It wasn't forced, but it, like, if we're going to get together, we don't really do that in our family. And the parents would put it away, and it was a breath of fresh air for them as well, because those kids engaged in different activities together. So sometimes it's just communicating where you're at.
And this is implied, but I think it's one of the really beautiful things about being at this school is that the peer pressure for the children as well as the adults is not to have screens or technology or phones. And so we've heard this from a lot of our friends outside of the school, just that we ended up getting, him a phone because everybody else had one. Like, we just felt like we had to. And there's none of that here, so it really kind of takes away, I think, a lot of that desire on both ends, the kids and the parents.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just gonna, before we go to the next question, I just have a really funny, well, I think it's funny. My kids also, I have 3 boys who are now in their 20s. They're all graduated from UCLA. They're human beings with jobs and all that. Yay, go Bruins. And my oldest grew up with very limited media, similar stories. And he asked me once when he was in grade school, and he's like, when do people have time to watch TV? Because they were so busy with the marble runs and the creating and the painting and all the things that they were doing. I thought it was just funny. He's now a cinematographer. So he's in film and he graduated film and television. So it also proves that they don't get behind by not having it. And he wrote his whole entrance, college entrance exam about growing up without media and his desire to be on the side of it that is a creator, and how he grew up being a creator instead of a consumer, and that he wanted to tell stories and wanted to change people's lives and inspire them. So, yeah, that's just my personal story there. Yes, question.
Hi, this could probably go to the teachers or to the students, but I came to an open house maybe a year ago and saw a schedule on the 7th, I think it was the 7th or 8th grade classroom, and the breakdown of how many hours you're actually sitting down and academic learning versus being outdoors and things like that. So I guess I want to know what does a typical day look like in those older grades?
Maybe you could do it, or Bobby, you want to do it, or even Candace could do it.
So a typical day, so we start off the morning lesson when they come in. So my class, we do a walk and a run, and that's really just to help ground them. So if they're coming in from a busy morning, just to kind of catch their breath, get some red in their cheeks, which we know is really good for them. We start with 2 hours of morning lesson. That's the bulk of the academic learning, because we know Steiner knew it before science proved it, but that's when they're most able to take the academic learning and really take in the most, hold it in, kind of plant those seeds. After the 2 hours, they go out for 20 minutes snack recess, 40 minutes total, 20 minutes for snack, 20 minutes for recess. They come back in, and then we'll have, depending on the day of the week, it's kind of like that out-breath. They'll have a music lesson, they'll have an art lesson, a language lesson. And so the day is structured so that the children are getting something kind of highly academic, and then it'll shift to something a little more where they can breathe and let loose a little bit. And then they come back to an academic setting. And again, and even in these settings where I say geometry, they would consider that an art. I mean, it is, but it's also, they're getting math, and they're doing a lot of movement and drawing. One of the expectations we have is that they're not sitting in their chair the entirety of the day. It's a very normal, natural thing for them to be able to get up, stretch, get a sip of water, come back, and you're not checking in with me. You know your body, you know what you need, come back as soon as you're ready. And when you have that expectation, it isn't something they take advantage of. They take what they need and they come back, and there isn't any loss in that time. So we give the bulk of the academics in the morning, and then we kind of give them that in and out breath between the day until we dismiss. I hope that answered your question. And then we have park days twice a week where they're off campus in a green space, which is nice for them to have.
Bless you. Are there questions, Brian?
A quick question for the recent graduates. Did you feel disadvantaged at all going into the public high school, coming from the Waldorf background?
No. No, disadvantaged. We were at an advantage. We went, well, at least I don't know how it is for you. She goes to Wilson, I'm in Renaissance right now. No. Like I said, you know, it really helps you realize who you are, how you are. So we weren't at a disadvantage. We were just ourselves, and people flocked to us. To me, anyway. I don't know about you. Not to toot my own horn, but we just went through it like it was an everyday thing, and it worked. And it worked. Look at us now. You have anything to say?
Yeah, so, yeah, absolutely not, actually. I said before, like, I'm doing things in my biology class, my English class, my accelerated English class even, like, that my sister is doing in 5th grade. Like, we're relearning things. It's more of a review for me, actually. So I feel like Waldorf kind of, it teaches ahead as well as in the present, so it teaches what you're going to learn in a way that you understand at the moment. So, yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of cool to hear you guys say that.
Am I hearing you say that it teaches you in the moment and prepares you for what you're going to learn?
Yeah, that. Yeah, it teaches you what you're going to learn.
You said it perfect.
Yeah, in a way that you understand it at the moment, like at grade 5, grade 2, 3, 7, I don't know. Yeah. So, no. I think that we were completely prepared, and I don't think we regret anything.
I have a question. Do you miss this setting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would trade everything I own to have another year in this specific school, but any Waldorf school in general, but this specific school only because I know everyone, they know me, we know each other, we understand each other, and we get along like regular human beings. As opposed to,
brothers and sisters.
I'm not saying that, public high school is terrible, but it's definitely different, and I think that it takes some getting used to. Yeah. Yeah, that's an idea, guys, Miss Lisa?
Get us the space.
Yeah, before I run out of 4 years.
So I graduated in 1993. Would I be considered a recent grad? No, I was kidding. When I graduated and I went to community college, it was a really big struggle, but I think after a couple of years, I learned how that struggle became a positive because everything that I was thrown into, that was completely different. I just learned to thrive in doing everything different. Like when I moved to the Bay Area to go to San Francisco State, I was able to thrive really quickly. When I moved down here to Southern California, I was able to thrive. When I started becoming a public school teacher, I was able to thrive really quickly. So I just learned how to use that to my advantage. I think probably I got some of those tools from Waldorf. So.
I'm going to say something, or I'm going to admit something that's pretty embarrassing. That's just going to attest how much I loved Waldorf and missed it when I left. So every week at the high school that I went to, the freshman class had to do a fun fact. And when it was my turn to do fun fact, I did fun facts on Waldorf. And years later, looking back, I was like, oh my gosh, nobody cared about that. That probably wasn't a fun fact for anyone but me, but I loved Waldorf so much and the way that everything was structured that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do my fun fact on Waldorf schools.
And I think the other thing about, and I think you touched on it, like we stretch them so much because we have all these subjects that Candace mentioned. Your favorite subject might not be choir. It might not. You might really struggle in strings. Maybe in handwork, you loved knitting, but then crocheting was harder, and by the time it came to machine sewing, it was hard. But everybody is doing it. You don't have a choice to say, well, I'm going to just not do that today, or I don't want that subject. So we push them out of their comfort zones into spaces where they have to try everything. And by the time they leave, then they do have this confidence level that they can try new things, that they don't just have to focus on the things that they do best or that they love best. And I think that's such an asset and that's why we talk about this well-rounded education, and that's the reason, that's the kind of meaning behind it, is even if they didn't love it, they were exposed to it and they tried it and they can understand. It's like even how we teach every continent in the world, every culture, every creation story, every thing, so they can go in the world and understand others, being exposed to so much, right? So, yeah, that's my little 2 cents on that. I feel like, Mela, you didn't get a chance to talk so much. Do you want to talk about early childhood and the beauty of... Do you want to talk a little bit about how early childhood, maybe like what you look at to prepare the child to go to the grades?
Oh, we do a lot of... they do a lot of play, which is like that's their work. And through play, they learn about, social, emotional aspects of life. And we also do hands-on things like domestic cutting of vegetables, domestic arts. We tend to sew. And all those things are preparing them with fine motor skill. And they run around outside for an hour and do all kinds of things there for their big motor skills. So we also do like our breath in breath and just prepare them for later on to be able to sit in the classroom, that we sit together and have a family meal together. And you can tell those that are just wiggly and want to run, but say, this is what we do. We sit and enjoy our meal together. So all those little things, it's just like giving them tools for later on when they go to kindergarten, first grade, and the grades that we start small because they're so little, and then we increase as the year goes by. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They can increase their patience. They have to wait.
Oh, yes, you have to wait, but I want it now. I know, but you have to wait your turn. And they love to sing their song while they're waiting their turn, or they use the little hourglass, sand hourglass, yeah. And by now, they all learn. They're just like, oh, it's not your turn. It's my turn. I'm still doing this. So these are all things that we do in early childhood to prepare them for grades.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions from our guests? Brian?
So primarily for the parents, but also I want the educators to weigh in as well. Did any of you look into or have experience with charter schools, charter Waldorf schools, and
the differences, yeah,
between fully private and charter, and why choose here versus there?
No, I'm just kidding. There are other Waldorf schools in the world, but it's like when you've got something really great, it's really hard to look elsewhere. No, not really. Like, why?
Yeah.
We did experience a different, our first transition to Waldorf was a Waldorf charter school. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity because that's how we discovered this whole world. And, you know, I just love Long Beach, and it's so nice to have a Long Beach-based school. We're a very Long Beach-based family. I like the culture, the vibe, the people. And for me, this is like us. But also, I think that any route to Waldorf education is a really beautiful thing for kids and families. So I think wherever you end up is wonderful, but if you like Long Beach, this is very much the Long Beach vibe.
Yeah, I can speak to it because my daughter has gone to both Maple Village, Los Angeles. Hi, my daughter went to both Maple Village and a Waldorf charter school. And one thing that I know in my heart, being in both places, the community that's here and the closeness of the parents and the educators, they're wonderful in both places, but there's something unique about this school. And I've also done training at different schools, but there's something about Maple Village that no one else has. And I know it's just about Waldorf, but there is something different. There's a foundation here that grows and follows the kids. I think in the charter school, there's a lot of different elements at play. And because I recommended this school, actually, I think, to Tori. But yeah, this is just a special school. And the community that's here, I don't think that you find in many other places. So.
Well, yeah, because I worked in both. And I started a charter school. And it is together with other people, not on my own, together with other people, because I was very ideal, right? I want to have this available for everybody. That's how Emil Molt started. It was given, the business gave this to their community. And so my thing, charter, yeah, that's it. People don't have to pay tuition, people don't have this, that. True. And the children are going through a different mold, because there still is a mold that they need to fit in, because they have to do their testing. And as a school, if you don't do your testing, because parents can opt out, you know, but it doesn't look very good for your school. So there is a different kind of pressure that is there. Is it better than a regular public school? Yeah. I mentored in that area. I mentored in those. The people come from the right spot, right? They come from the heart. They come from the right spot, but their hands are bound. Still, their hands are bound on more things than we need to, because it's really free. You know, in Europe they're called the free schools. Here, a free school is something completely different. Okay, but vrije Schule, vrije scholen, those are schools that are free of government input.
Thank you. I want to honor the time. It's 7:20, and I know, I don't know if I want to do two things. I want to offer, I know we want to close it out by 7:30, and there might be some things that you don't want to raise your hand for, so we want to have a little time just to mingle. But I wanted to ask our panel, right now, is there anything that you were like, oh, I really wanted to share that tonight, and it didn't come up? Any kind of last thoughts from you that can help someone sitting here? I know it's funny, Kelly, I was thinking about you because you were in the audience a couple years ago when we had the panel and then you started. But is there anything that anyone wants to share that they feel like they don't want to leave without saying? Yeah.
I have a little more to speak about the Maple Village community specifically. I feel really lucky that my mom started working here because it gave me a bit of a community as well. Like I said, I went to the Pasadena Waldorf School, but the school has employed me. I've been able to work in the early child care classes, and I've been able to nanny some of the children of teachers that go to the school, and that gave me the opportunity to take them to the parent-taught classes. So I've been able to see the school as a student, as a semi-parent, and as an educator, and I'm just really grateful that Maple Village has given me that opportunity to continue connecting with my Waldorf roots.
We're lucky too. Anyone else feel like? Yes, Milo?
When I was getting ready to leave Maple Village, I tried to find another Waldorf school to go to because I loved it here, and I was like, if this is so great, I want to have this with me in high school, and I found, I think it was OC Waldorf, and I did a week there, and it didn't feel right, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna work. And so I ended up at Renaissance High School, which it was amazing, and it was definitely the right place for me to be at that time.
Thank you for sharing that. We miss you too. So good to see you.
You know, one thing that we talked around but didn't really discuss much that I think is important to leave us with, beyond your kids really developing a love for learning and being in a school where the school meets them, the parent community is actually really, really awesome. Just the friendships that are built and this whole community who's actually helping raise your child. That's the part that I really enjoy, is I know that there's all eyes in the classroom. All those parents are helping to kind of pour into both of my kids, and we're doing the same thing for all the other kids. And it just really does feel like a village, as cheesy as that sounds.
Yeah, there's a reason it's called Maple Village. It's like intentional, right? And I think on that note, thank you for bringing that up, because you're not alone. Parenting is very difficult. It's not an easy job. And as much as the parents are so amazing by helping each other out and helping raise the kids, it's also something that teachers are doing, just like, with Miss Gonzalez, has her own students, but she's also helping and knows all the other students. Miss Paula's in first grade now, but she absolutely knows others. I know all of the children, and so we're all helping to grow them in different ways. And sometimes a teacher will say, hey, you know what? It looks like you need a little bit of break. Why don't you go help out in another classroom today? And another teacher will be, absolutely, bring them in. I need some help. So it's such a neat feeling to know that. And also our campus isn't spread out, which is unique. So we are in each other's spaces all the time. So there's really no going into your silo. So your child, if you decide to come here, will be not only held by their own teacher and the other teachers coming in to teach them lessons, but by every teacher. And we go to each other if we're like, this happened today. What do you think? Oh yeah, on recess I saw that happen, and maybe that's why they're feeling a little sad. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go check in. So it's kind of an amazing opportunity in that way too. So yes, Hesa.
I just have a parent here. There's my oldest son, and I have a first grader with Miss Paula, so I'm the luckiest person in the school. I get to apologize. But I was going to say, just Joaquin has been here. We've been here since he was in parent-toddler classes, so he's grown. He's now 15. And what I've noticed, yes, we have a beautiful community with parents, but just the children. Adela and Joaquin have been together since preschool, same class, and I remember they were always fighting. And they are the best friends right now, and I just love to just have them in the car, like we're going to get some PG. My point is, as students, what I love is, for example, the ceremony that we have, the bridge, when the 8th graders look down, are there, as helpers for the first graders. And so this is what they learn to do. This is what they just know to do. They just know to be the bigger brother or sister of the little ones who are just coming into first grade. And so it's not just the parents who have the community, it's also the children, the students. They feel helped. I'm also teaching preschool, and so some of my students, are like, yes, I want to go to aftercare, the big kid aftercare, because so-and-so, who is in 4th grade is going to be there, and that's my friend, and they really are friends, and they really feel like, I feel safe. My parent isn't here, and, it's a long day for me because they have to go to, aftercare like really late in the day, but they just know that they have friends, and that to me is really beautiful, because now I have the 1st grader who is now in aftercare, too, since I'm working. And he knows that, his friends are going to be there. So I think that's something really beautiful to have in this school, specifically here. I don't know any other school, and I do not know any other school, except for I just love, just being here. And I look forward to the next 8 years with this all.
Yeah. Yeah. 8 more years.
I will do that. I don't know about y'all, but we all have had at least one teacher that we just like, ugh. Like one of those really like, ugh. I had one that smoked cigarettes, menthol cigarettes, out the window, and she hated kids. She was there to get to her pension. And I get to that point, even before that, I quit.
Good to know.
I will absolutely do nothing. I will not touch children because honestly, you need to come from a spot of loving authority, and you really have to love what you're doing. You really have to love what you do. Otherwise, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you know if you're starting to get cranky that it's time I'll let you know. Well, thank you so much to our panel for coming tonight to take more time. Thank you. Thank you to Carrie for organizing. Thank you to all of you for coming. And, we have a few minutes if you have a quick, thing you didn't want to raise your hand. I'll still stay around for a few more minutes and help yourself to some food before you go. And thank you for coming. Drive carefully.